back. It's Let's Be Perfectly Queer time. We've got a slight change in our regularly scheduled programming, though, in that I have the sincere pleasure and honor of now having a guest host with me on Let's Be Perfectly Queer. This is an individual who is very well known in the Barrie, Simcoe, Muskoka community, is an ally, an activist, and most importantly, an extremely good friend. Someone that I have come to love, quite honestly. I met this individual when Aaron and I first moved here back in 2017, so my God, we have known one another for 6 years now, but it seems like a lifetime. And a dear friend, again, a community activist, an ally to folks living with HIV and our queer community, and an incredible ambassador of all things good in the world. Let me introduce you right now to the new co-host of Let's Be Perfectly Queer with Randy Davis and Justine D'as.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another season of Let's Be Perfectly Queer, and thank you so much, Randy, for having me on the show. I'm so excited to be here.
2 words for you, my love. Padum, padum.
Oh my, you're gonna make me blush.
No, seriously, getting back into the swing of producing this show and getting episodes finally out to the public again has been a very daunting thought for me, only because my schedule is, much like yours,
Yes.
incredibly crazy and only getting busier.
Yes.
And this is something that is so important to our community, to have this this avenue to be able to get messages across, to have a platform for folks within our community to be able to share their stories and their experiences, and to be able to tap on you as my permanent co-host is fabulous, because I love to sit beside you at any time of the day.
Well, thank you.
So to be able to actually sit with you and share stories and talk about what we want to see happen within not only this show, but in the broader sense of our community, I think is wonderful. We've had these conversations in private before, but to be able to have these in a public platform, I'm very excited to have you sitting beside me. And I will let our audience know that the new format for Let's Be Perfectly Queer with Randy and Justine isn't always going to be both of us hosting and co-hosting. There will be episodes where I will co-host or host the show myself, and others that you will do. And again, that is really based on our schedules and availability. So
Absolutely.
So welcome.
Thank you. And like Randy said, I'm so happy to be here. Like, we have sat down and had many conversations about numerous community issues, whether it be in the 2S LGBTQIA plus community and or within our ally community itself, the Simcoe Muskoka area, talking about people living with HIV and AIDS, the homeless situation, the substance abuse situations that are going on here. These are things that we talk about constantly. So it's just really nice to be able to bring this to more of an open, more public forum. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. And you're right. I mean, all these issues intersect with one another, right?
Yes,
and
they
the
do.
impact, one impacts the other. So it's important that when we have those conversations that we touch on all those social determinants of health, because they are, you can't have one without the other.
Exactly. They kind of run hand in hand. You can't have, a certain mental health issues, without other issues that, stem underneath that, because mental health is an umbrella, and then there's all those little categories that run underneath that, and, thank goodness for people like yourself and then the other people that work in places like the Gilbert Center and other outreach programs like that are there for outlets for people in our community to help them with such situations. So again, this is why we're here, to have these conversations, to bring light to situations and give that information to people out there on where they can go, what they can do, and what they need to know about our community.
100%. So for those who may not know Justine, and I can't imagine there is anyone who watches this program that does not.
Please.
Give us a little bit of background on Justine, because you and I met, like I said, in 2017
Yes.
when Aaron and I moved to this community. And I just have to say, the evolution in your drag from the time I first met Justine to today has just been, I love watching that. And to be able to say that I have sort of been a part of your evolution is just phenomenal to me.
Yes,
I love the direction your career is going. I know there are bigger things up and coming for you as well that I'm extremely excited for you. So just maybe tell our audience a little bit about Justine and her evolution.
Well, me talk about myself, that's
right?
just unheard of,
That never
right?
happens.
Well, like you said, you have literally been a part of my journey since the beginning. I started doing drag again, end of like 2016, beginning of 2017, and it was just a passion of mine, and I started going out into the community, and I met with yourself and with David and Shelley and people from Barrie Pride, and we started doing the shows at the Fox Lounge, and that's where I started getting my weekly show. And that's kind of where I got my taste for, you know, performing every week and being on the stage and getting to know all the people in the community. And you guys were always there. You always made sure to show up, and you still continue to show up to all of my shows to this day, which is fantastic. Whichever ones you can, obviously. Everyone's got a life. We know that. We understand that. But yeah, she's come quite a long way. Justine has been a huge part of my life for the last 7 years. She has really made me a stronger person, and has really helped give me a drive and ambition to work towards advocacy. You know, being a part of this community, not just as a queer person, but a drag queen in this community is super important, because drag queens are the keeper of our queer history. They are the keepers of and the glue that holds our queer community together. So I had this drive to jump into that, you know, those pantyhose per se, you know what I mean? And just kind of, and bring that evolution on and continue that tradition, bringing that knowledge from our past, from our elders, because people keep forgetting that we are a culture. You know, queer culture is an actual culture, and we have a very rich history. And I want to be that person to continue that path of helping the young generation or younger generation learn where their yellow brick road was paved from and how they get to walk fiercely and fabulously through it without any question, right?
Amen.
So yeah, she's been a driving force in my life, and she just continuously gets stronger and stronger, and her voice gets louder and louder, and here she is sitting on a television show co-hosting with my good friend, Mr. Randy Davis. So,
I mean, again, I am absolutely thrilled, honored, gagged to have you sitting beside me and continuing this journey of Let's Be Perfectly Queer. It's a show that was sort of gifted to me when Jerry left his show with Jerry, and to be able to still fill the airwaves with a queer space where we can have these conversations, and to have you participate in those conversations in a more regular manner is wonderful. And what's great is, I'm sure our audience knows, these shows, while we show them here on Rogers, we also have a YouTube channel.
That is correct.
So we can get an even broader audience and share them on our social media. And I think having you linked to the show is going to help to promote that visibility.
Absolutely,
as well.
absolutely, because that's what it's all about. It's about networking, and social media really helps us do that, right? So whether you have Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is that you got, right? Instagram, it's all out there, and that's how people know where I am, what I'm doing, where my shows are. So being able to be a part of this family and help spread that message throughout the community is going to be something that I am going to absolutely love and enjoy, because this again is a part of my journey as an advocate, as a a person who stands up and believes in the community and wants to show the true light of our community and not just the goings on, what people think is going on.
Sure,
so.
Absolutely. The reality
of it,
what a queer life looks like. And my queer life is different than your queer life, right?
Everybody's queer experience is different. We can sit here and we can talk about our experiences, tell the friggin' we're blue in the face, but everybody's experience is their own, and if we could be that voice for just one person, we've done our job. So
yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about those messages and the queer community, give me an idea of sort of the subject matter, the guests maybe that you're thinking of to invite onto the show. What sort of direction do you want to see Let's Be Perfectly Queer go in?
Well, obviously, the direction has been pretty, the trajectory has been pretty good on what's been going on in the show. We just want to kind of bring a new swing and a little new spice to things, right? That's why you bring, a queen on stage.
Yeah, I should have brought my fan today.
It's okay, I'm your biggest fan, so it's all good.
Oh, darling.
But yeah, no, I want to see definitely more open topics about the queer experience and what being queer actually means. Again, we talk about umbrellas. So queer is the umbrella category to everything that goes underneath it. So where you identify on that queer spectrum is what we need to talk about, because again, the queer spectrum is a very broad spectrum. And we want people to feel inclusivity. We want everybody to be heard. We want everybody to have a voice. And that is, again, why we were here. So I'm hoping that with myself being here and some of the guests that we're going to bring on, we can open those topics of discussion, open those forums to talk about, gender, race, sexuality, what it's like to be a person who is asexual. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these different topics of discussion that we really need to bring light to, that a lot of people don't really understand the actual true meaning and details behind it.
Absolutely, and especially now.
Yes.
I mean, these are issues that our community has had to deal with from the beginning.
Yes.
They are issues that sadly I don't think are ever going to go away.
No.
That we're always going to, it gets exhausting that we're always seem to be fighting, but at the same time it's almost invigorating too. At least that's how I see it.
100%.
Bring it on.
100%. And again, that's being a queen is what it's all about. If it wasn't for the trans women of color and drag queens, we wouldn't have Pride, because Pride was a protest. It was the first fight. Those women held arms and friggin' protested against the police and against the brutality and against the ignorance and the hate, and it continues on to this day. We have to remember that it was those people that ignited that flame.
Yep.
And we have to keep going back to that and remember that that flame still keeps burning today, and we need to make it burn brighter, especially now with everything that is going on, not just in the United States, but it's slowly trickling up into Canada. Certain political parties, certain views from different outside groups that we won't talk about at this point, that have really brought a negative light to our queer community, to trans people especially, and it's really disheartening. And I really hope that this show will allow us the opportunity to bring some light to those situations and really give people the true, honest, background of what it is that our life is about and what our existence is about.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, we have heard a lot lately about the anti-drag bills that are being introduced in various states down south of us. The Don't Say Gay bills in Florida. The absolutely horrific conditions that we're seeing in some countries in Africa towards folks who identify as 2S LGBTQIA+. And I think it's wrong for us to think that Canada is isolated from that. We hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
About the fact that, thank goodness we're in Canada. And I was in Palm Springs recently for a vacation, and sitting in the hot tub with a bunch of other queer men with my husband, and they were talking about the fact that, how much better we have it in Canada.
Yeah.
And I had to interrupt and say, listen, you know what, I appreciate that, and I understand why you might see that, because our politics, we have just as ultra-conservative and hatred and the bigotry that we see in the U.S., we have it here in Canada too.
100%.
It's just not as loud, I guess, as it is in the States. Those personalities aren't as big, and we don't hear about them the way we hear about the politicians in the U.S. But I think that's almost even more dangerous, because it's more insidious here. It's sort of swept under the carpet, but it's there. It's bubbling under the surface, and we see it coming very close to boiling over.
100%.
We see it on Instagram and Facebook comments from generally faceless profiles who have that bravery to condemn folks who do drag, or who are trans, or who are just queer in any part of that spectrum.
Yep.
And I think that's why it's incredibly important that we have to remember the history, as you already mentioned, and repeat that. I mean, I've said for a number of years now, the time is long overdue for us to get loud again, to protest again, to be in front of our city halls and our parliament and saying enough is enough.
Yes.
This is wrong. Are we ever going to stop the hate and the stigma? No. And I think anybody that thinks they can eliminate it is sadly mistaken. But we can absolutely bring attention to it and not allow it to become pervasive within our lives.
100%.
And I think, folks like you, and to some extent myself, who have the privilege and the safety to be able to speak up, I mean, I feel almost an obligation to speak up and be loud and know that I am protected with, I've got the love of my family and friends and community, that it's not a danger for me per se as it is for some folks.
100%. 100%. We are very fortunate, as you said, when it does come to that aspect of living in Canada, North America, we do have those, those safeties and those freedoms, but those freedoms come at a cost. They aren't exact freedoms. They aren't, when we say that we get to be who we get to be all the time, that's not always true. How many times in your life do you have to stifle your queerness in order for you to make other people feel comfortable?
Or sometimes even to make ourselves feel comfortable.
Right? I'm done.
Yeah.
I've said that this year. I am done. I am done trying to fit my square peg in a round hole. I am queer and I'm here, and you're gonna have to get used to it because we're not going anywhere. We have been here since before the beginning of time. We will continue to be here till the end of time, and that's never gonna change. The only thing that is ever gonna change is the way that people view other people. Until we start celebrating our diversities, but understanding that we are one thing, and that is human. We are all human beings, and until we all realize that, the hate will never stop.
I'm listening to you, and I am just awash in love, because these conversations I treasure, and to be able to share this now with a broader audience, it really fills my heart.
Well,
and I'm not a warm and cuddly kind of person. You know that. Although I have cried on this show on more than one occasion. Sometimes we've had to cut those scenes out.
It's all good. And you too.
And I'm sure you're going to make me cry. I'm sure at some point.
You give good hugs. You're a good hugger.
I do give good hugs. Absolutely. I like to hold on tight.
Yes.
I like to hold on tight. I've lost my train of thought now.
We're talking about our discussion about me being here and all of the topics of having to be ourselves and not be ourselves.
Yeah, that's the stifling of our queerness to not only make others comfortable, but in some cases ourselves. And I hate that. I really do. And I'm guilty of it still to this day.
Yeah.
Walking down the street in Barrie, I am not comfortable holding my husband's hand.
I will 100% agree with you on that.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. It's one of the reasons why I love going to Toronto and the Village, because I can just, while that's not always a safe place either, I feel much more comfortable holding Aaron's hand in public when I'm walking down Church Street.
Exactly. I was trying to explain this to one of my friends the other day, and I hate saying, I was hanging out with some of my gay friends the other day, because they're just friends, right? Yep. We're all just friends.
Yep.
But it's different. When you are a woman, right, regardless of whether you're cis or trans, when you are a woman and you have that female energy, when you are around other people with that female energy, you have that connection. You have similarities. There's things that you can talk about that you can't talk about with other people. That's the same that holds with us as queer people, as gay men especially, that, when we get together, we don't get to be around a lot of other gay men a lot. So when we get together, we're in our comfort zone. And actually, funny enough, one of the ladies at my salon that I work beside, I had one of my clients who's a longtime friend of mine. He came and sat down to get a haircut. And I hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks, and then him and I were just having the best old friggin' chin wag and clucking like a bunch of hens. And then after he had left, she was like, wow. She's like, you guys are worse than women. And I'm like, I know, but get used to it.
It's true. But yeah, and it's funny because Aaron and I were just away this past weekend and stayed at a hotel overnight in Cambridge, of all places. And I said to Aaron when we checked into the hotel and we were waiting for the elevator to go up to our room, it's like, is it weird that I don't feel as comfortable here as I did when we were in Palm Springs staying at an all-male resort and gay-friendly Palm Springs? And it was because it was a sold-out hotel. There was some kind of tournament going on, obviously, in the area because there was a bunch of teenage boys and their parents, and I was not as comfortable as I am in a queer space.
100%. I get that. I really do. And that's, again, for myself, going to a bar, going to a pub, anything like that isn't necessarily a queer-friendly space or a queer space, I'm always on guard. I always have to sit with my back against a wall so I can survey. I always want to find where the exits are so I know how I need to get out of here like really quick if there's a situation. Like these are all things that people don't realize that live a cis like heteronormative life, that they don't realize that we as queer people have to think of on a constant basis. We constantly fear for our safety and constantly fear for our lives, and that is no way for a human being to live. We're just trying to exist, we're just trying to live, and we're just trying to love, and that is it. And like you said, even for myself, like I'm a drag queen. When I'm at a drag, I'm a pretty like, if I didn't move or talk, I'm a pretty butchy looking guy. But I have nails. And I wear nails most of the time now because I do drag. And so my husband refers to me as a day walker. And, but even still, I find myself in situations where I'm putting my hands in my pockets because I don't want people, do you know how I love when people like look at me and they're like, oh, hi. Oh, when they see my nails, and I'm like, it just feels a little uncomfortable,
No, I get that because I've recently started to paint my nails. Not always, but most of the time I have, and it's usually glitter because I need to sparkle.
Have fun.
And sometimes I forget that I have painted my nails, and I'll be at the grocery store, for example, and my hands go in my pocket.
You do the
But the majority of the time, though, the cashier will say, "Oh my God, I love your nails," and I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Right.
So I think those perceptions of that negative experience coming down the pipeline aren't always true, which is wonderful.
Yes.
Excuse me. But those few times that it has been difficult are the times that you remember.
Yes, and that really, truly is. It's like anything. You could tell somebody 100 times about a wonderful experience you had and they'll remember it for 5 seconds, but you tell one person about a bad experience and they'll tell it to 50 different people, and then they'll tell it to 50 different people, and then that's just the way it is, right? It sticks with you forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talk about when we talk about trauma, right? And I think all of us who have any aspect of a queer identity understand what that means.
Most people, I would say about 99% of all queer people that I know have some type of trauma in their life. It's funny, I was having this conversation the other day with a couple of my gender drag performer friends. I said a good majority of us in the drag community also have some type of trauma based to us, but then I also realized that a good majority of us are also neurodivergent. I was like, we are all different types of crazy, and I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, you said it earlier, we are at the heart of everything. We're all human.
Exactly.
And just because we're part of a queer community doesn't mean that we're, number one, going to like everyone.
Nope.
It's like folks living with HIV that, I have that common bond, but in many cases, that's it. There are people living with HIV that I am not fan of at all, and others that I love dearly.
People are people. I don't care if we're both men. I don't care if we're both queer. I don't care if, we both like purple socks. Like, if you're a complete orangutan, I don't want to be around you. And that's it.
Yeah. I have a T-shirt that actually says on the chest, "Don't be a dick," and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah. Well,
it's not that hard.
Well, what did my grandmothers used to say?
Well, sometimes it's hard, but that's another show.
Yes, and sometimes it's not, and then you have to call a clinic about that one. But
there's pills for that.
But like my grandmother always used to say, life is already full of buttholes. You don't need to be another one.
Absolutely. Did she say butthole?
Well, she said asshole, but
okay, there we go. Yeah.
Just trying to be polite.
Yeah. If that has to get beeped, it gets beeped. We won't bleep it on the YouTube.
Okay, good.
So, again, we want to bring these stories. We want to bring authenticity. And I don't know about you, but anytime I have asked a guest to come on my show, sometimes a guest will ask me, can you send me the questions that you want to ask? And I'm like, no, because that's not why I want you on my show. I want you on my show to share your story. If there's questions that you'd like me to ask you as a way to sort of facilitate those conversations, absolutely. But when I invite someone to be on the show as a guest, I want them to be on because of what they want to bring to the show, not what I want them to bring to the show. And I don't know what your philosophy is on that. When have you thought about guests that you'd like to see sitting in this chair beside us?
Yeah, I actually have had a few ideas. Of course, I want to bring some people in from the community, drag community. Definitely want to start talking to some local politicians. Really get behind some really like good topic conversations about our community, where our funding is going. You know, issues with the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. I want to maybe also discuss some things with people who run other facilities like the Busby Center and things like that, because again, a good majority of those people who are living in Youth Haven, living in the shelters, on top of substance abuse and mental health trauma, a lot of those people are queer identifying, and it's really unfortunate. So we really need to be there for not just our queer community, but for everybody. So I'm really hoping that, you know, by bringing these guests on, like we said, opens up that discussion, opens up that forum, and brings that information and those issues to light for our guests to see out in the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And while it is wonderful, after, I can't even count the number of years since we've actually shot this show in studio.
Yeah.
And Deanne, thank you for creating our lovely new set. We also have the opportunity, as we have in the past, to do shows virtually, so we can get a wider range of guests on the show. And we can also go out in community and shoot shows on location as well. I still want to do a show or two from my hot tub.
Oh, there we
I don't know how well Justine would hold up in the hot tub, but perhaps Mitchell can join us for that show.
She would
We'll
have
see.
to just be in like glasses and like a towel and some big earrings and jewelry, but you know, that'll work.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah. See, the hot tub is normally a swimsuit-free
Yes,
zone,
yeah.
but we can make exceptions for taping purposes.
Yeah, for television, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have to keep it family-friendly.
Of course, of course.
Friendly.
Well, they do have those blurry boxes, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, yes. I should know that from my OnlyFans. Anyway, we are getting to the end of our inaugural show.
Ooh.
Any final words that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I just want to say I'm super excited to be here. I can't wait to bring some amazing programming and some topics of conversation to this stage, to this set. I'm very excited to get out into the community and talk to all of you. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of this opportunity. I am so excited to see what this brings for us this season.
Well, and I am personally, again, not only grateful to have you sitting in the co-host seat, but I'm excited too to see the different looks that Justine is going to bring.
She's got some looks.
And I'm hoping there might be even an opportunity to debut some new looks.
Oh, there will be some
as
new
things
looks.
Progress.
There will be some new looks for sure. Now that things in Mitchell's life has settled down,
yes,
Justine is about ready to flourish. So she's going to be hitting that pavement running hard.
Oh my gosh, the hard pavement. I've been on that pavement with you before, darling. Yes, I love those.
Right?
I want those in red.
You can get them
because I'm all about the red. I'm all about the red. Listen, again, it's been wonderful having you on the show today.
Thank you, my dear.
I am so excited for the future of Let's Be Perfectly Queer with you in the passenger seat beside
Thank you.
me. Sometimes you'll be in the driver's seat too,
Yeah.
because I like to sit back and relax as well sometimes.
It's okay, I'll put on my kerchief and my glasses so
Yeah.
the wind doesn't get my hair.
Driving Miss Daisy. Anyway, thank all of you for joining us on another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer with Randy and Justine.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
Thanks, darling.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.